Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third edition of the Booker. Today I'm going to be talking about how I would book Brock Lesnar's retirement. Now, I gotta say, I truly believed that Brock Lesnar retired at WrestleMania, but obviously that's not the case anymore. So if I had to assume when Brock Lesnar would retire now, it'd make all the sense in the world to have Mr. SummerSlam himself retire at this year's SummerSlam, especially when this year's SummerSlam takes place in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So, without further ado, let's get into today's video. Now, I believe we get Brock versus Oba number 2 at Clash in Italy, and I also believe that Brock Lesnar wins this match, and afterward, this then leads to Paul Heyman explaining the reason why Brock Lesnar is back is because he didn't like the way that he went out at WrestleMania. And instead, Brock Lesnar, he wants to go out just like the way he came in, which is by winning the King of the Ring tournament and going on to SummerSlam and winning the World Championship. So Brock Lesnar, he wants to retire as World Champion at this year's SummerSlam in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota. So obviously at first, Brock Lesnar, he wanted to conquer Oba, which now he has done. And now this leads to Brock Lesnar's final SmackDown match. And that is a fatal 4-way match. It's a King of the Ring qualifying match, the first round. And it's Brock Lesnar versus Ilya Dragunov, a returning Ilya Dragunov, versus Chad Gable. Now, about Chad Gable, I gotta believe he'll be revealed as the original El Grande Americano. And I'd like to see this play out where maybe the American Made betray him and leave him behind, and maybe this leads to a moment where we see Chad Gable. He's sitting down, his back's against the wall, his head's down. He's lost. He doesn't know where to go from here. And then out of nowhere, a returning Kurt Angle confronts him and tells him that he's a freaking Olympian. It's time for him to start acting like one. So this leads to a fresh reset for Chad Gable, where he gets traded to SmackDown. And with this, I think it's the perfect duo. Chad Gable and Kurt Angle, they have the same type of personality. They're both Olympians. I just think that they'd be the perfect duo. And with this, I'd like to see Kurt Angle help Chad Gable finally capture singles gold, and it'd be fitting for that title to be the U.S. title. But anyway, that's how Chad Gable's on SmackDown now. And one more thing to add to this, I would love to see one last interaction between Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle, and you could even build a mini storyline here where Chad Gable, he's also from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and maybe he wants to win the King of the Ring tournament and win the World Championship in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota at SummerSlam. But anyway, the last opponent of the Fatal 4-Way match is Jacob Fatu. I believe we got to see a moment between Brock Lesnar and Jacob Fatu. I believe it'd be money. And as for Jacob Fatu, I think he probably loses to Roman at Clash in Italy and has to acknowledge him. But, maybe he moves back to SmackDown. This is a fresh reset for him. And now he has his eyes set on winning the King of the Ring tournament and going on to SummerSlam to become World Champion. But, so you have Brock versus Ilya versus Chad Gable versus Jacob Fatu. Brock Lesnar ends up winning a fantastic match. This now leads us to Brock Lesnar's final Raw match. And this match is Brock versus Braun Breaker. And, with Paul Heyman, he's kind of in the mix. I'd like to just see him stay out and be like, you guys just have the match, may the best winner win. And Braun Breaker, he can put up a great performance, but in the end, Brock Lesnar wins. And at the end, you can still put Braun over by having Brock shake his hand or something, or just show any sign of respect. But in the end, Brock Lesnar wins this match. And afterward, Paul Heyman can be like, you just got respect from Brock Lesnar. You're indeed the future, and keep your head up high. Something like that. So Brock wins his final Raw match as well. And this now leads us to Night of Champions, where it's the King of the Ring finals. And I believe this is where we get the trilogy of Brock versus Oba. And with this match, towards the end of the match, Brock Lesnar can set up Obafemi for the F5, but as he turns around, Obafemi's foot hits the ref, which then causes Brock to drop Oba, and the ref rolls out of the ring. Brock is angry that the ref is down and out. Paul Heyman doesn't know what to do. And as Brock Lesnar backs up towards the turnbuckle, out of nowhere comes Gunther, and Gunther puts Brock Lesnar in the sleeper hold and makes him pass out. And as Gunther then exits the ring, the referee kind of gets back up. Brock Lesnar kind of gets up slowly, and Obafemi then hits him with the fall from grace, and Obafemi ends up winning the King of the Ring tournament, which now leads to Obafemi having the opportunity to do the same thing that Brock Lesnar did in 2002, which is by defeating The Rock, which is a Samoan, and winning the World Championship. And now Oba has the same opportunity to defeat a Samoan, Roman Reigns, and become World Champion. So there's a lot you can do with there. But anyway, this now leads to Brock versus Gunther at SummerSlam. Gunther shares how Brock Lesnar is his final boss. It's his dream match, and he wants to be the one to retire Brock Lesnar. And he can't think of any better place to do that than in his hometown of Minneapolis, Minnesota at SummerSlam. So that does it for me today. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.